Hey guys, my name is Yasmina and today I wanted to recommend to you guys some wintry reads, books that I think are perfect to read during this time of year, and also some TBR books that I want to read this winter. There's something about winter specifically that makes me want to read so much more than any other season, and specifically fantasy. I find myself really getting sort of back into fantasy. Not that I've ever left, it's just that's when I really want to sit down with a good long fantasy book and really get lost within its pages. But in this video I wanted to recommend sort of more wintry books, books that maybe have winter as a setting or that just evoke that sort of cozy wintry vibe. It's not an overly long list, I realized, because it's hard to think back on a lot of books that I've read and try to remember if any of them were set in winter, but there are definitely some that stick to mind. And the first one I want to talk about is Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. So this is the first book in an epic fantasy trilogy. The series is called Raven's Shadow, and I loved this first book so much. This book is sort of like what if Game of Thrones was just following Jon Snow at the Wall and all his trials and tribulations defending the Wall. We follow the main character from when he's very little as he trains to become a fighter, and then when he's older and in full control of his powers. Some of this book specifically, when he goes out to one of these trials to fight in the wilderness, takes place during winter, and that's part of what I remember about it. But in general, this is a fantastic big fat fantasy book to stick your teeth into and cozy up with on the couch during winter. The next fantasy book I want to recommend to you guys is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong. I loved this book so much, and it is absolutely perfect to read during winter. The magic system in this book revolves around ice magic, and we follow the story of her mother and her son as their village gets invaded by the opposing army and all the terrible things that happen afterwards. This was kind of harrowing at times, but also incredibly epic, incredibly awesome. It has the best duel scene I've ever read, ever, like in anything. I highly recommend checking this out. And a lot of it takes place in sort of a wintry season, and again, ice magic. Very few things that get more wintry than that. And then I have two young adult contemporary novels I want to talk about. First of all, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by David Levitan and Rachel Cohen. And I love this book. This is also a very short read, so it's one that you can quickly read to add to your Goodreads end of the year goal. But this is about a fun little romantic scavenger hunt in New York. So one of the main characters leaves a note in a book inside a bookstore with the sort of start of a little scavenger hunt, and the other character finds this note and then has to complete the little scavenger hunt in New York to reunite with the owner who left that note, and then they spark a little love story, and it's just very cute, very fun, just like a little nice wintry romp around New York. And then you'll excuse me, but I have to give a mention to my own book. This is Hunting Vienna, and it just came out, and it takes place during winter. It takes place in November. This is the story of Dan, an 18-year-old who struggles with anxiety as he stumbles upon a scavenger hunt of historical artifacts in Vienna, Austria. And it's just a fun, thrilling, lighthearted adventure about friendship, coming of age, and mental health. And in my opinion, it's perfect to read around this time of the year. The story takes place in November as the first snow falls upon Vienna, and they go to these Christmas markets that are sort of on the way to them solving each of the clues, and they have some mulled wine and some sweets and some delicacies from the Christmas markets. And my gosh, if you haven't ever been to a Christmas market in Europe, read this book. I know it might be expensive to just go to Europe and go to a Christmas market, but if you can, I'd highly recommend it, especially the ones in Vienna. But otherwise, you can get a little bit of taste if you read my book. Links to my book and all the other books I mentioned down in the description and in the pinned comment. Shameless plug over. Next, I want to talk about some wintry books that I haven't yet read, but that I want to read this year, hopefully. First up, I have Misery by Stephen King, and just from the cover alone, you can tell that this is a wintry read. I'm pretty sure it takes place during winter in a cabin in the mountains somewhere. I don't know too much about this book, but I know it follows a writer and his biggest fan that quickly turns into a stalker kind of situation, and I don't know much more than that, but I definitely want to read this book and still many more of his books. I have read some Stephen King, which is why I want to read more, and this one is definitely on the list to be read in winter. Next up, I have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Now, I've read Uprooted by her, which I loved, and that one was also kind of similar, based on a Eastern European fairy tale, and so is this. One of the main characters is called Irina, which is, we have that name in Romania. I'm sure it is also a name in other Eastern European countries, but just thought I should mention that. Don't know much about this, but a lot of people recommend this as a wintry read. And I'm really excited to give this a read because I really love Naomi Novik's Uprooted. I also read her Sholomans series, which I didn't like for other reasons. I have a video up on that if you're interested. But anyway, I've read a lot of Naomi Novik's work. It's a bit hit or miss. I have loved the sort of companion novel to this, based on Eastern European folklore, sort of fairy tale-esque vibes, wintry vibes. Yes. I will read this year and let you know what I think. Then I have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is another one I've seen a lot, specifically last year, and also something that is considered sort of a cozy read to be read around winter time. I don't know too much about it. In general, I'm not the type to learn too much about books before I buy them. I go off of like cover and vibes. I heard this was a cozy wintry read, that's why I bought it, and I would like to read it this winter. It's also quite a short one, so I think I'll definitely give this one a go this winter for sure. On the back it says it includes a chicken possessed by a demon, so honestly that's all I need to know. Gonna read this soon. Let me know if you've read any of these books, by the way, and what you thought of them. And the last one I have is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Now, this is another fantasy book that I've been meaning to read for forever, but I've always known it's a wintry read, so I've always kept it for that winter season. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Maybe this year's the year. We'll see. I have too many books that I need to read and not enough time in general. That's a different problem. This one, similarly to Spinning Silver, is also based on Russian folklore, I'm pretty sure, and it takes place maybe in a sort of Siberian north during winter, and there's witches and curses and potions and other witchy things, maybe. I don't know. This one is very highly regarded. The entire trilogy is, so I'm very excited to finally get around to reading it this winter. I mean, it says on the back, a beautiful deep winter story full of magic and monsters and the sharp edges of growing up, and that blurb is by Naomi Novik, author of Spinning Silver. So these two books clearly go very well together. Which one should I pick up next? Let me know. So this is the stack of books of wintry reads and TBR for me. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, and let me know if you're planning on picking any of them up this winter season. And as I mentioned, there are links to all of them down in the description. But definitely let me know what are some of your wintry read recommendations and what kind of books do you like to read in winter. Are you even a mood reader or a season reader? Because I definitely am, which is why it takes me so long sometimes to get to books. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a nice cozy wintry time with a good book, and I'll see you next time in a new video. Bye!